So, are you good at receiving gifts or are you better at giving gifts? If you're anything like me, you are far better psychologically at giving gifts than you are at receiving them. In today's video, what we're going to do is share the book haul that I received in the month of September 2024. There's a lot of books here and there's a lot of gift receiving, and psychologically sometimes I'm not always prepared for it. And I want to share with you at the end of this video today a strategy that I hope will maybe help you become a better gift receiver, because sometimes that's trickier than we think. Welcome on back to BellTube. You know, September and really all the months leading up to it since I started this channel has been pretty incredible. When I started BellTube, I really never thought I would be doing these book haul videos, really because, for one, I didn't know that anybody would care what I received for books or purchased for books. And I guess secondly, I never really thought the community would want to send me anything. It's been incredible, you guys. I just want to use this video today to say thank you to everybody. You know, it can be some authors, there's some viewers, there's some publishers, and I'll show you what I bought myself as well in the month of September. And so how we're going to approach this today is I'm going to share with you all the digital stuff first. So that is ebook and audio, and then we're going to get into the physical books. Of course, everything, as always, is time-stamped. So if there's a section that doesn't interest you much or a particular book, feel free to move on to the next chapter. Let's get into it today. Okay, these first couple books in the digital format were sent to me on Kindle by author A.R. Witham. Some of you know him as Andy, and he owns the Key Mark Discord, and he hosts a lot of readathons. That's how I met him. But he sent me his debut book, The Legend of Blackjack, and then he also sent me book one in his new series, The Crimes of Rooker Flynn. Both of these look really cool. I love their covers. I'm going to have them right here, of course, in the editing piece of this. But Andy's just a really good guy, and I suspect he's a pretty good storyteller. I know a lot of my friends on BookTube have read these books, and they've quite enjoyed them, so I'm looking forward to them as well. I wanted to say thank you, Andy, for sending me these. I know you sent them a little bit earlier than September. Sometimes things get past me. Thanks, Andy. Let's move on to the next book. Okay, this next one's exciting to me. Not only because it's an arc that not a lot of people have read yet, but because it actually was written by one of our patrons named Sean Bobby Kerr, and the book itself is called A Journey Thrice Begun. Now, I've started reading it. It's got a really cool premise. In chapter one, you know, I don't want to get too much into the details. We'll do that into a wrap-up. But chapter one, we run into this main character who gets offered to go to a magical academy and turns it down. We don't really see a whole lot of that, so definite points for, you know, innovation and creativity. But Sean Bobby Kerr, thank you for sending me an arc of your book. For those of you who are wondering, this book releases officially on Halloween, October 31st. And we're going to talk about it more as we get a little bit closer to that date. But Sean Bobby Kerr, thank you so much for sending me your arc. I'm really looking forward to reading it. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, now this next book I purchased for myself, but you guys had a direct hand in it. Why? Because every month we do a subscriber community poll, right? It's not a patron poll. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button and you are part of our BellTube community, and we do polls all the time. One of them is, of course, the community poll where you guys help pick the TBR. And in the month of August, you guys selected Daniel Abraham's Long Price Quartet Book 1, A Shadow in Summer. Now, I'm going to discuss this more as we do the monthly recap later on this week, but I did purchase this on Kindle. This was a cool book. Let's move on to the next one. All right, this next one I was not going to buy digitally because I have already ordered the Broken Bindings physical edition of this book, and I am talking about Memories of Ice by Steven Erikson. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if they've even made the book yet, and I didn't want to wait, you guys. If you've been watching this channel at all, you know how much I loved Gardens of the Moon and that I love Dead House Gates even more. I could not wait to get Memories of Ice under my belt. And what did that mean? That means I had to get it on Kindle. I'm going to discuss this book at length in the recap video later on this week, but added in the month of September is Memories of Ice, electronically, by Steven Erikson, and you can probably tell by the big smile on my face what I thought about that book. Just kicked butt. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so let's talk about some audiobooks before we get into the physical books. So in audio this month, there were 3 additions to my home library. The first one was sent to me by Podium Entertainment, and this book is called Meet Your Maker, and the 2 authors are Seth McDuffie and Jonathan McLean. Now, we are going to be talking about this book a little bit more in the month of October, and I'm actually going to be listening to it pretty quickly as October has now begun. But Meet Your Maker, I think it's lit RPG. If so, that's pretty exciting because you guys know me if you've watched this channel at all. I love me some good lit RPG. Meet Your Maker. I'm fired up to find out what this is all about, and I just want to say a special thank you to Podium Entertainment for providing me this copy before it even is released. Let's move on to the next book. All right, we've got a double now. What's a double, you may ask? Well, we've got an author who shows up twice in my Audible collection, in my Audible editions for the month of September. It is the one and only Eric Uegland. I love the good guys books. I love the bad guys books. And you know what? I got one of each this month. The first one was The Bad Guys, and that book was called 2 Lies, 2 Thrones. And we follow our main character, Clyde Hatchett. This isn't a book review, but you guys, I'm excited because I just love the good guys and the bad guys series. Anyway, I wanted to talk about that book, and I want to talk about the one in the good guys series, and that is Bad to the Throne. I also listened to that on audio. They were audio additions to the home library. Again, Neil Helliger's killer narrator. And for those of you who are maybe early on in each of these series or you're contemplating them, they are both set in the world of Valdrani. And in these 2 books, after, oh my gosh, like a dozen entries in each of these 2 series, the main characters in both books finally meet each other. It's a really cool convergence. I can't wait to see what's coming up. I'm going to discuss more about these books, of course, in the monthly wrap-up. But yep, audio editions, 2 Lies, 2 Thrones, and Bad to the Throne. You get the common theme here? We're talking thrones. There's a lot of thrones here. We're going to talk about them. All right, let's move on to the next book. Okay, now we're into some physical books. Now, this is going to be a combination of books that were sent to me by authors, books that were sent to me as gifts, and books that I purchased for myself. Right off the rip, let's talk about this one, sent in by author Gregory D. Little, and the name of the book is Murder on the Interstellar Express. So clearly we have a take on Murder on the Orient Express, and I like how it seems like the main character's name is my last name, Bell, because it says Bell begrudgingly solves it. I don't know what he's solving, but I have to say thank you to the author, Gregory D. Little, because he not only sent the book, he sent a cool patch that'll go along with that. It'll go really good. Maybe if I, come on next week and I've got a patch on my shirt, you'll know why. Or maybe there'll be some stickers on the other side of my shirt because he sent them too. Really nice card as well. And this is really a cool item. I'm going to zoom in on this on editing, by the way. This is a journal and a notepad with a pen, and I really dig the cover of this journal. It's got almost like a cyber scorpion on it, and it reminds me of playing the game Wasteland 3. I don't know why, but it just sort of looks like that. Very cool of you, Gregory D. Little. I appreciate you adding to my home library. Let's move on to the next book. All right, so this was a really big package that showed up in the mail, and I was not expecting it. I had not heard of this author before. His name is Dan McKay, and I'm going to show you the books in the order of the size, just because it fit better on my table that way. The first book is called Windwalker, and while I don't know exactly what this is about, I will put a link, whether it be to the Goodreads or the Amazon, for all of these books in this video. But Windwalker, he sent that in. We've got one called Oblivion. Really dig the cover on that. I'm going to try to remind myself to zoom in because it's really cool black and white cover. And then we also have another really cool cover. This book is huge. This book is called Hellbound, and it is a tome. This is a big chunk and book, and it looks like the margins are pretty narrow, so I'm going to suspect a pretty high word count here. And it's funny because in the last sentence on this cover, it says, to survive, he'll need to level up, form a party, and fight like his soul depends on it, because it does. All right, we're talking about leveling up. I'm starting to get some litrpg vibes. We've already talked about that. You're going to get me most of the time with litrpg vibes for sure. Let's move on to the next book. So this book came out of nowhere. The publisher sent it to me, called Starlit Publishing, and the authors, there's two of them. One of them is Tao Wong, and the other one is Jason J. Willis, and the name of this book is Head of the Class. Now, why is this interesting to me? It's interesting because it is a book in the System Apocalypse series that was developed by Tao Wong himself, and now he's spread out his universe where he's got other authors collaborating with him, writing in that System Apocalypse universe. If you are unaware, basically it's a science fiction lit RPG series. So I'm going to assume that this is also lit RPG. I really, really like System Apocalypse. I know that there's a lot of kind of mixed vibes on the main character of the System Apocalypse. And to be honest with you, for the first 2 or 3 books, I had those same issues, but it really does improve. And I just love what Tao Wong did in the System Apocalypse. I know that he's got a cultivation series out there as well, I think called 1,000 Li. My buddy Andrew over at AndrewsWizardlyReads is a big proponent of it and an advocate. I haven't gotten into it yet, but I just wanted to say thank you to Starlit Publishing for sending me this book. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to get to it, but I suspect this is more of a when I'm going to get to it rather than an if I'm going to get to it. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you sending it to me. Let's move on to the next book. So this next book, I'm pretty darn excited to talk to you about. Why? Because I've already read it, and I read it on Kindle last month for SPFBO X, the Spiff Box competition that I was a judge for. And this is the book that I put through as my semifinalist to Dr. Philip Chase. Yeah, we're talking about The Tenacious Tale of Tana the Tender Sword. This is a really cool hard copy, you guys. I want to thank Dewey Conway and Bill Adams for sending me this book, but they didn't just send this book. They sent this really cool map of Tana's Tenacious Tale travels, which is really good. That's a lot of T's, isn't it? And a really fun bookmark. I really like this. This book is a middle grade fantasy book. It is never anything in a million years I thought I would read prior to starting this channel. And I have to say, if I was not a sub-judge in Spiff Box, there's no way I would have read this anyway. I'm so glad that I did. Fingers crossed, you guys, that Dr. Chase agrees with me and puts it through as a finalist, but that's really out of my hands at this point. Just wanted to say thank you to Dewey and Bill for sending me that book. It's going proudly on my shelf the minute I stop filming this video. Thanks, guys. Let's move on to the next one. Did somebody say we need to get a chonker in here? I think somebody called for a chonker. That somebody might have been named Brian Bell. Yeah, I bought a chonker this month. Look at this sucker. And not only is it thick, but it is extremely dense. The type is really small. There's a lot of words in here. Why? Because it's Malazan Book of the Fallen, number 4, House of Chains. You guys have turned me into a Malazan addict, I have to say, for sure. I am so excited for House of Chains. I only read, like I said, I only read the last one on Kindle because I couldn't find it in trade paperback while I wait for the Broken Bindings version to come out. But this is insane. I can't believe how big this book is until it landed at my house. We're starting this sucker right away in the month of October. I can't wait to recap Memories of Ice for you later this week. But yeah, added to the collection, House of Chains, Steven Erikson. I'm rolling a D20 because we are going back to Malazan. Let's go and let's talk about the next book. Okay, this next book was sent in by one of our amazing patrons and viewers, Heidi. Now, if you are familiar with this kind of corner of BookTube, you may have heard of Heidi's name before because one of her kindest habits is to provide some booktubers occasionally a book that she just thinks is in their wheelhouse. And she really thinks I'm going to love John Gwynn's The Bloodsworn Saga. I don't know why I wouldn't. I love The Faithful and the Fallen, and she sent me a trade paperback copy of The Hunger of the Gods, which is book 2 in Bloodsworn Saga. I'm going to start book 1 this month in October, so I suspect I'm going to get to this book sometime in November. I just wanted to say thank you, Heidi. You already are a patron. You already do tons for this channel. Even your feedback to me through direct messaging really does make a difference, and just thanks a lot. You've been a friend of the channel really since its inception. You're totally cool. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next book. And before I move on to the next book, if you like Heidi and Sean Bobby Kerr and a couple of the other people that I mentioned in this videos, if you'd like to find out about our Patreon, it's listed in the description below. Let's move on to the next book. Okay, so this is by far the biggest surprise of the month that I received. I get this package from the Broken Binding, and I didn't order anything from the Broken Binding, so I didn't know what this was, and I'm looking around everywhere for a card. There isn't one, so I'm thinking this is either a mistake or maybe the Broken Binding just sent me a book. And that's exactly what happened. The Broken Binding sent me The Mercy of the Gods by James S.A. Corey. Super cool, and not only did they send it me just a copy of it, they sent me a signed copy of it. Broken Binding, I think your name is Matt. Thank you so much. We've never had any interaction apart from me being a member of both the subscription service to science fiction and now to fantasy. Thank you, by the way, for, getting me through that. I actually waited on the wait list for, I don't know, maybe a year. So I'm glad that I was able to get through that. But you guys, this is so cool. To send me The Mercy of the Gods. No communication, no, hey, be on the lookout for it. Nope, just showed up at my doorstep. Broken Binding, you guys are doing all the right things. I'm telling you as a business person that has spent my whole life in sales and marketing and promotions and all the things, the Broken Binding is doing what it takes to really be something pretty incredible. Thank you so much for sending me that book. It's going to get me into my one for the road today. And this is something that we talked about at the beginning of the episode today, and that's receiving gifts. I am terrible at receiving gifts psychologically. When somebody offers to get me something, my first response is to say, nah, it's fine. I'll get it whenever I'm ready for it. Or no, you really don't have to. And I started to think about that a little bit yesterday, and I just love giving gifts, right? I mean, for some of us, and I think most people, it feels better to be the giver than the receiver when it comes to gifts. And I love the reaction that I get when I find something special for somebody and I give that to them, and I get to see their reaction and their appreciation and the bond that it develops between the two of us. I love being on that end of that interaction. And what I started to realize was by me being so bad at receiving gifts, I think I'm doing them a disservice. I'm taking away the fun that I get when I get to be the gift giver. I'm directly taking that away from them. So as a very short one for the road today, I just wanted to give everybody an opportunity to take a few seconds and be mindful of the fact that while it might be in our nature to say, oh no, you don't have to do that, or oh no, I'm fine, don't worry about me. I think in some regard, we are disabling the giver from the same opportunities that we would like to have when we give gifts ourselves. And let's try, myself included, not to do that. Let's accept gifts graciously and in the spirit of kindness and in love that they are usually intended. You guys, this was a fantastic month in terms of receiving book mail, in terms of me adding to my own collection of books. But I'm really curious, as I always am, what the heck did you get in the month of September? Let's discuss it in the comments. I'm in the comments constantly. I answer them all myself. You guys know that already. I'm going to be back at you later on this week with a recap of everything that I read in the month of September. There's a banger in there that is right up there for Book of the Year, so you're not going to want to miss that. We're getting into the best season of the year as far as I'm concerned, and that is fall. It's an autumnal time of year. See, Josh, I was able to sneak in the word autumnal myself. All right, you guys, stay positive, and here's your fortune.